Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're having a good one. I'm Nick, and today I'm continuing my journey through spooky season with the film Night of the Living Dead, the classic from 1968. But before we get into this classic zombie flick, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying this type of content, and if you're feeling extra generous, you can go ahead and buy me a coffee or follow me on Letterboxd. Both of those links will be in the description, guys. Let's get into it. So Night of the Living Dead was released in 1968. It stars Duane Jones, Judith O'Dea, Carl Hardman, and it was directed by the one and only George Romero. Now guys, this zombie subgenre has grown and expanded over the years like crazy, to the point where at one point in the 2000s, we were getting almost too many zombie flicks, like every month or so, where it was kind of wearing itself thin a little bit, I think, just like the superhero genre. But really, Night of the Living Dead was the birth of the zombies that we know today. Of course, there was films before that focused more on like the voodoo aspect of zombies, like White Zombie and all those other films. But this one really gave us the type of zombies that we see to this day. And this was, of course, the directorial debut of George A. Romero himself. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2017. Rip to him. He was one of the greats. And I eventually plan on covering all of his movies in the future on this channel, especially his zombie flicks. Now guys, this is a spoiler review, of course. This film is 50 plus years old, so if you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. And it's a great film to get yourself into the Halloween mood. So the basic plot of this film is that two siblings drive to a cemetery, brother and sister, and once they get there, shortly after, they get attacked by this zombie. And this is where we get the iconic line, "They're coming to get you, Barbara." That was when Johnny's screwing around with her sister Barbara. And that line, it's just so iconic. It even gets brought back like in movies like Shaun of the Dead. Like, "We're coming to get you, Barbara." Because that's the mom's name in that film. So anyway, this guy that's wandering around the cemetery ends up attacking them and knocking out her brother Johnny. So Barbara takes off and runs for her life. And she ends up finding this house. I'm pretty sure it's like a farmhouse. And this house is the main location of this film. It's where most of the events take place. She meets up with these other group of characters who all take shelter into this home while the zombies start surrounding it and trying to break in. And these characters are really trapped in this house. They're boarding up the windows and that. They don't want any of these zombies getting in. And you know, the phone lines are down. They can't call for help. The vehicle is missing gas outside. They have trouble with that. And this is all leads to a very claustrophobic type situation. And through the radio and TV, they find out that this is not only happening here, it's happening basically all over America. And they just do a really good job of giving you a little bit of theories and clues to what's going on. We eventually kind of land on the fact that a satellite that went around Venus or whatever, that came back to Earth, had a bunch of radiation on it. And this radiation is causing the undead to rise. And I thought that was just a really unique way to bring the zombies, the undead, back to life, right? You can do it through viruses, through more sci-fi ways like this film did. But at the same time, they never quite tell you exactly what's going on. That's just like a theory that the scientists and the government's coming up with, even though the army denies that. Now, getting into our characters, I'll start off by talking about Barbara, since she's like one of the first ones we meet. Once she gets to that house and she discovers a dead body upstairs, she's basically in shock the entire rest of the film. I feel like she's the most annoying character out of them all. The rest of them are all fine. And I get why he wrote her this way, because, yeah, you would be in shock if you just lost your brother and now you're in this apocalypse, basically. But yeah, she doesn't get many lines after she reaches the house, and when she does, she's just pretty much delusional. Pretty much gone crazy. And the first character that Barbara runs into while she's at the house is Ben. He shows up to the house and keeps her safe. And Ben is played by an African American actor. And it was pretty rare back in the day to see that, like in the 60s or before that, as your main lead in a film like this. So that was pretty revolutionary. And Ben is our man of reason. Like, when everything's going crazy, he's the one thinking straight, is what it seems like, out of all this bunch of people. He's a survivalist. He's just trying to get everybody safe, no matter how they have to do it. He's willing to sacrifice himself for others, and he's just an all-around great guy. And for a while in the film, we only get these two characters in the house. Ben's boarding stuff up while Barbara's being useless on the couch. And this is the only part of the movie I find the pacing slows down a bit, because we're literally just watching Ben like board up the walls and the windows and stuff. And the things slow down for a little bit. It doesn't help that Ben's basically having one-sided conversations with Barbara. But around the 38-minute mark, we do meet the rest of the characters who were hiding in the cellar. We get a husband and wife who have a daughter who is injured down in the basement. And we also get another couple, boyfriend and girlfriend. And once all these characters are kind of introduced and brought into the film, the movie just doesn't stop and doesn't let up. Right to the final act, in my opinion. We don't get any more pacing issues or anything like that. It was basically just 15 minutes of the film where it was like, it kind of slowed right down almost to a halt. But then from here on out, it's nonstop. And George A Romero is so good at dealing with characters and how they would act in situations like this. And this film is no different. We get Harry, who was the husband, hide in the basement. He's like a big-headed ego guy, and he doesn't want to be wrong or whatever, or change his mind no matter what the situation is. So him and Ben kind of butt heads when it comes to staying alive and what they should do. The movie really shows you how divided people can get in a situation like this, in an apocalypse or a pandemic or whatever. Like even in real life, this is so relevant right now with whether you're talking about like elections or the virus, the COVID-19 virus. Like everybody's so divided in that, and I feel like even on the small scale in this house, you feel it. Now let's get into the zombies, guys. These are pretty slow-moving zombies. At times, they can get a little hustle going when they're chasing someone, but for the most part, they're just walking around. They feed on flesh and meat, and when they do in the film, it looks so nasty and gross, especially for the time. They did a real good job at that. And I heard what they were actually eating was pretty disgusting at the time, too, so good on those actors for pulling through. And he really created a lot of the rules for the modern zombie today, like destroy the brain or decapitate the zombie to kill him just by shooting him in the chest, and that is not gonna work. Kill the brain, kill the ghoul. Even if a zombie bites someone, that will transfer the sickness to them, and they will die and become a zombie as well. Or even if you don't have any sicknesses or whatever, if you just die from anything, you will come back as a zombie because of the radiation. And this film came out in black and white, and I have yet to see the colored version of this film. I know they redid it with color, they added color to it. But I think the black and white really helped with some of the effects of the, whether you're talking about the makeup of the zombies, or like when someone's getting bit or whatever. I feel like it hid what they couldn't do at the time in '68, where they didn't have the practical effects as good as now. And although these zombies seem dumb, they are not. They will do more than your typical zombie to get at you. They will pick up rocks and break windows if you're in a vehicle or in the house. Like they're smarter than what they give them credit for. Although if you have a torch of fire or whatever, they're definitely scared of that. And that's another way to take out a zombie. And when you break it down, when the zombies, no matter how fast or slow they're moving, when you're surrounded by them in this film, you get that adrenaline rush, that fear rush of like, oh shit, things are closing in on you quick and you better get out of there or you're a goner. Like, it feels very claustrophobic and the tension is at an all-time high in certain scenes. And that wasn't an easy thing to do back in the 60s. There's not many films that could pull it off back then. And this film just has so many iconic scenes, whether you're talking about the beginning at the cemetery where they first meet their very first ghoul, or where she finds the dead body at the top, in the top level of the house. Like, the effects on that dead body look pretty great too at the time. Or my favorite part, when the daughter finally turns into a zombie in the basement, starts eating her father, and then going after the mother to kill her with like the gardening tool, like that little spade thing. I can't think of the name right now, but yeah, she's just going at her with that, and that is crazy to see for a film of this age. I know like Psycho and that was released before this, those types of slashers, but just having a kid kill their mother in this way was pretty shocking. And of course, getting into the final act of this film, the way things wrap up, that twist is so shocking. Like, wow. When the law enforcement arrives at the house in the morning and Ben thinks he's saved, he gets up there only to get shot through the window and killed off like immediately by the law enforcement who think he's a zombie. And you can take this so many different ways. You can take it as the people were actually worse than the zombies for the most part in this film. The way certain ones acted towards each other in the house, or whether you're talking about the guys outside that shot our main lead, who was the best character in this film. And you can even look at it from a social commentary point of view nowadays, again, whether you're talking about the virus or now police brutality. Like, shoot, ask questions later. That's what it almost felt like in this film, especially since they shot the only black man in this film. And I just think it was such an excellent twist that I had never seen coming, and it's up there in my top 5 endings probably in horror in general. And of course, I could talk about this film all day, guys. It's a classic. Getting into the score adds so much tension to all the scenes where it's added in like it should. The characters and the actors playing them all give excellent performances. And even the camera work is just fantastic in this film. There's times where they're in the house holding the boards, and it reminds me of like Evil Dead for some reason, but it's just really well filmed. Night of the Living Dead is not only important for the horror genre, it's important for in the entire film industry. It was revolutionary at the time, and it deserves to get the title of a classic. And if I'm going to have to go ahead and rate this film, I'm going to have to give it a 9.5 out of 10. A near perfect film, and it's super important in the horror genre. It was just Barbara's character that brought my rating down a tiny bit, because she does annoy me a tiny bit with her being so silent and crazy after she reaches the house. But I get what he was going for, and that tiny little bit of like 15 minutes that drag. But aside from that, this is a near perfect film, and everybody should watch this. So guys, let me know down below in the comments section what you think of Night of the Living Dead from 1968. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you prefer the remake from the 90s, which I have yet to see, but someday I'll get onto it. And that's all I got for you guys today. Thanks for watching.